Welcome to the Wednesday Call Live. Now let's hear it for our special guest host, Marc Accetta.
I love it. I love it. Well, welcome to the Wednesday Call, everybody. Before we get into what we're going to be talking about and training on today, we have a lot of great stuff. Just want to start with some housekeeping announcements, which are very, very important. First of all, we have some new winners for the Alaska trip. I'm sure you all know. So really big deal, one of the greatest forms of recognition in the entire company, to work for an entire year to accumulate enough points to go on an incredible trip. All of the other gentlemen who've been on, who are on with me today, have been on multiple trips all over the world, literally. So this year's an Alaskan cruise, if you've never done that before, it's one of the greatest experiences you can ever have from a travel perspective. Not only do you go on an amazing trip, you don't have to pay for it, which is always the best kind of trip in the world. But then you are just rubbing elbows and having conversations, even when you're just doing something fun like going on an excursion. Go on an excursion with one of the top people in the company and having that one conversation, maybe on the bus ride on the way to the excursion, makes the whole trip worth everything. So that's the first thing we wanted to let you know. Then, of course, we have to mention to you that at the end of the month, we have NatCon coming up, our national convention. Full price on the event is $4.99. So if you haven't gotten your NatCon ticket, you need to get it. These weekly calls are an important part of what we're doing, but nothing will ever replace the live face-to-face meetings that we do, the trainings we do. We have an incredible lineup of trainers. We have everything dialed in. All the messages you're going to get are exactly what you need right now. I have never seen Andy Albright, our fearless leader. I've never seen him in the 2 years I've been here more focused and dialed in on delivering an event that's going to be exactly what the field needs to know. So it's not only for you, it's for you and anybody on your team. I'm telling you, there's people who don't go in the event. The people who don't go in the event are going to be the exact same after the event as they are right now. And then there's going to be people who go to the event and they're going to be noticeably different in a very positive way. So part of what are the skill sets you need to learn is getting the people on your team to see the value and get registered. And it's easy to do it when there's a significant discount if they sign up right now. So get your people signed up. When we get off this Zoom today, get one person on your team at least signed up for NatCon. I assure you, this is a big part. If you want to be a business builder, if you want to hit the ranks, if you want to be standing on stage possibly as an agency manager or above at this event, it's you getting your people to the events that really drive the business. So that's that. And then last but not least, you can go to allianceevents.com/hotspots to see all the hotspots. And that's going to be a big thing, guys. We're in the season of building momentum. It's the beginning of the year. It's time to build momentum. And one of the main ways this team builds momentum is by using these live meeting hotspots. So go to Alliance Events /hotspots to be able to find out where there is, because believe it or not, there may be one right in your backyard coming up very, very soon. So that's all I've got as far as announcements. I'm going to turn this over to certainly one of the top producers and the most pivotal people in the entire organization, the one and only Mr. Alex Abuyuan.
Wow. Mark, it's an honor to be on the same call with you. And I've been waiting for this opportunity for a long time, just to tap into your wisdom and all your years of experience. And when I first learned about you joining the Alliance, I started creeping on you all over the internet. And man, I found some awesome stuff. One thing I want to ask is, people respond to negative situations and adversity all kinds of different ways. And, I think sometimes our agents aren't equipped. I've heard Andy teach this, that, the size of your business is based on how much negative you can handle. And so, COVID happened 3 years ago, and you did this talk that just blew me away about what a true leader does when they handle adversity and all that. I just want you to tap into that, man. I think I need to hear again, how how you've been able to handle adversity. What are your recommendations for agents that are running into situations?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, buddy. And it's amazing because most training material is designed to give it to people. And, when things are going great, I'm going to use sports analogies. We're right in the middle of football, bowl season, all that kind of good stuff. I'm sad beyond words that Alabama lost. But anyway, let's get past that. So the key is when you're up by 10 points, it's easy to have a great attitude. What happens when you're down by 10 points? Derek Jeter is one of my all-time favorite athletes ever. His great play on the field. He's a baseball player, played for the Yankees. I'm sure most of you know him, but if not, one of the most successful athletes in the history of maybe the most successful and well-known franchise in all of sports. And Derek Jeter, they asked him, what advice would you give to someone who wants to have a career like yours, have a significant major league career? And he said, what are you going to do when things go bad? And most people don't know this, but Derek Jeter was one of the highest draft picks in the entire Major League Baseball draft. I think he was number 5 or 6 in the whole nation. And then in the beginning of baseball, you don't go to the major leagues. You don't go to what they call A ball, double A, or triple A. Those are the minor league. You go to what's called rookie ball. And in rookie ball, the lowest level of competition in Major League Baseball, Derek Jeter made 56 errors in rookie ball. Now, I got enough that you may not understand baseball. An error is when someone hits you the ball and you drop it or you throw it. It's bad. And that may be the all-time record for the most errors in the history of any league of any kind of professional ball. So again, Jeter talks about how he almost quit. He wanted to quit. If his parents hadn't studied personal development, and this ties into what you're asking, Alex, like Derek Jeter was going through extreme adversity, and he had someone in his life, in his case, his parents, who sat him down and said, no, you go back and you play your second year. Go back to why you started playing this game. You were the number 6 pick in the whole country. You're going to go have a great year. And the next year he went back with better attitude. Not only did he stop making all those errors, by the end of that year, he was playing for the actual Yankees. He was in the World Series a year later. So most people quit when the going gets tough. So to answer your question, what do we do when we have adversity? So first of all, it's almost like, imagine this. Imagine you're a boxer. We do a boxing character to View from the Edge, and you're throwing punches. And then all of a sudden, of course, you get hit. Imagine someone who goes, what the hell? Like, you're not supposed to throw punches. I'm the only one who can. I'm here to knock you out. You're not allowed to try to knock me out. Listen, life is going to try to knock you out. There is no doubt you're going to get hit. There's going to be adversity. To sit here in a little bubble and think this is all going to be easy is absolutely ridiculous. So this is the first thing I'll tell you about the way leaders handle adversity. Leaders affect their environment. They are never affected by their environment. That is a huge situation. So again, average people are like sheep. Most people are natural born followers, and they're going to follow someone. So if you're a leader who's acting in fear, one of my favorite expressions is we can't afford the luxury of a negative thought. Thoughts become things. Go back to basics. If you have not read Think and Grow Rich, you can't afford not to read Think and Grow Rich. First chapter, thoughts are things. Thoughts turn into things. So you and I can't afford the luxury of one negative thought. In the Bible, it says if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move a mountain. How about this? Let me cut to the chase. If you have doubt the size of a mustard seed, you can't move another mustard seed. You can't afford the luxury as a leader of one negative thought. But you don't understand, Mark, this is going wrong. So here's the problem. Everyone's got problems, okay? So here's the point. How do you deal with a problem? So this is so silly and elementary. One of the first things my mentor taught me, you got a problem? Everyone's got a problem. I have a problem right now, me personally, that's so big that if I were to focus on that, there's no way I'd have the energy to be on this Zoom. I've got a huge problem. So you know what I do? I write it on a piece of paper. I lock it away in a desk drawer or a vault. And then I go make money. I go do what I need to do and focus on. Because thank God at the end of the day, if I forgot what my problem is, it's safely locked away in a vault. Some of you guys, it's like you're afraid you're going to forget your problem. So you talk about it all day long. You think about it all day long. And how can you be out there being a powerful, dynamic leader when you're sitting there thinking about, oh my gosh, what if they turn my electricity off? Or, oh my gosh, what if my girlfriend doesn't come back to me? Or whatever the case, I don't know what your problem is. We're humans. This is earth. This is not heaven. Heaven is where there's no problems, okay? The kingdom is going to be amazing. Here, this ain't the kingdom. This is a lot of good stuff, a lot of bad stuff. Jim Rohn said it, predict the next 10 years. There's going to be a lot of opportunities. There's going to be a lot of challenges. That's the way it's been since the beginning of mankind. So again, everyone can be excited if we put $100,000 cash in your bank account right now. Can you be excited if we took $100,000 out? How do you react? So think about, there's a great book called Extreme Leadership. I love any military training, but Navy SEALs to me are the pinnacle of all of it. And that's not to disrespect anyone else, because me personally, I respect anyone who ever served in the armed forces and allowed me and my family to go to bed safe at night. So going back to Extreme Ownership, which was written by 2 Navy SEALs, it talks about, look, the bottom line is it's my fault if something goes wrong. No matter what goes wrong, even if I had nothing to do with it. I learned a long time ago, when everything goes right as a leader, you praise the people who made things go right. When something goes wrong, you take responsibility as a leader, even though you may have nothing to do with it, because that's what leaders do. So probably the biggest thing I can focus or say to really finish answering this question, Alex, is there's a problem, right? Are you focused on the problem or the solution? Okay, a couple of months or whatever, a month ago, we had a little bit of an issue, obviously, with our back office. It was a problem. I was on the phone with Andy Albright within minutes, and I guarantee you, not that he didn't want to figure out what happened and how it happened, make sure it doesn't happen again, but his whole focus was on the solution. First thing we got to do in 24 hours, make sure everyone gets paid properly and on time. Focus on the solution. So when you're blaming somebody, when you're sitting around feeling sorry for yourself, when you're doing anything where you're talking about the problem, you are not focused on the solution. So again, if you're in a situation, I'll tell you this last thing. When people don't know what to do because they're in a newer situation, something you've never faced before, they stop doing the things they know to do. That's a problem. So always do the things you know you're supposed to be doing. You may need to do something extra to deal with this roadblock you have in front of you, but don't stop doing the things you know you're supposed to be doing while you're figuring out what the solution to your problem is. That's
wow. It. That's it. Dude, you could probably go on another 3 hours and I'd be like taking a ton of notes. That's awesome, man. Well, I'll turn it over to my esteemed colleague from North Carolina, Mr. Katz.
Thank you, Mr. Abuyuan. Mark, it's an honor to be on the call with you. Love hearing your thought process, and everything you've accomplished in business is just so amazing. So as we're rolling into the new year, everybody's got these goals. There's not one person on this call, not one person going to convention that doesn't believe they're going to qualify for Cabo, the next trip that we have. Yeah. And what are some things that leaders can do to kind of raise expectation and hold people accountable to the goals that they claim they have?
That's a great question. So first of all, you need to get their goals. Like, it's hard to hold them accountable if you don't know what they are. So this is a great time to spend some one-on-one time, even if it's a 15 to 30-minute phone call or Zoom, where you're sitting down with everyone on the team that you're personally accountable for and finding out what are they working for, what is important to them, and then make notes about it, because I promise you, your memory is not going to be that in June, you're going to forget what you talked about in July. So I think it's just really important to do a couple things. Number one, tell you a fast story. You know me, I always tell stories. So in December of 1988, I sat down with my mentor. He is the guy who shops the day before Christmas, does Christmas, and then he's back to work on the 26th. So it was not actually Christmas Eve. It was the 23rd. He called me up and he said, hey, I haven't done my Christmas shopping. I'm in from California. I need someone to drive me around. You want to drive me around? And we did. We drove all over the place and we bought all of our stuff. And at the end of all, I spent a whole day with him. We had an amazing day. We had fun. We talked some business. But the end, we ended up back at his mom and dad's house. He was staying with his folks for the holidays. And we pulled up and he basically said to me, like, we're putting this leadership group together for next year. In January at the big event, I'm going to announce this group of 5 leaders who are going to be my main guys and drive this thing in the future. Who do you think they're going to be? And I was like, well, Sherry. And he's like, yep. Ricky? Yep. This one? Nope. This one? Nope. So finally, to make a long story short, we got to 4 people. I figured out who they were, and I just couldn't figure out the 5th person. He goes, you're the 5th person. You. So he went on. He goes, Mark, when are you going to get it, brother? He goes, you have got more than what it takes, not only to be at the highest rank in this company, to be one of the top guys. For me to tell you, I believe you're going to be one of my top 5 guys. I think you're going to be one of the greatest speakers the industry's ever seen. You're going to be a best-selling author. You're going to do this, you're going to do that. Now, I left that car. First of all, he got out of the car, and I sat there, and I'm not joking. I might have been there for an hour. I have no literal idea, but I know I sat there for a while in silence. My brain was racing. Like he had opened up doors in my brain that had never been opened up. And like, I just sat there going, was he just saying that to motivate me? Does he really believe that? But there's something called the self-fulfilling prophecy in psychology where he spoke life into me. And he said, for example, so why am I telling you a story? How many people on your team are you sitting down with them in the next couple of days and saying, you're going to be with me in Cabo? I'm just telling you right now, you're going to win that trip. I know in your brain, you don't think it's possible. I'm going to hold you by the hand. And if you do exactly what I tell you to do, you're going to make it. Here's the other thing I like to do at this time of the year, Adam, is go, look, here's the thing. I want you to tell me what your goal is for the year. What's your money goal? What's your bond goal? Whatever. And then say, this is the big. Okay, so now I got to ask you an important question. I don't have time to babysit people. Okay, I want everyone on my team to be successful. The truth is there's just too many people. And the other truth is there's too many people who are not willing to do what it takes. They don't have the discipline. They have a goal, but they won't put the plan of action. So I'm going to ask you the most important question of 2024. Will you authorize me to be your drill sergeant this year? Okay, meaning that if you don't authorize me to be your drill sergeant, then when you're off track, I'll just let you go. That's fine. No big deal. Okay. Or if you do authorize me to be your drill sergeant, it means I'm going to be up your ass the minute you get 1 yard off the line. I'm not going to let you get off the line. Because if you get 1 yard off the line, before you know it, you're 12 yards off the line. Before you know it, you're 40 yards off the line. You need to get your ass back on the line if we're going to do what you said you want to do. So here's the thing. If you want me to be your drill sergeant, this is a 12-month deal. This is not where you change your mind after 90 days. Okay. I'm looking for key people to really pour into. Now, we have that conversation. Here's what's going to happen. I bet most of you on this Zoom, you have children. And if you don't, certainly you've seen children. So every child, when you tell them what the rule is, the new rule in your household, there's not a child on earth who isn't going to test that boundary at some point. They're going to test it and see if mom and dad are serious. So here's an important thing. How do you hold them accountable is really important. If you hold them accountable by screaming at them, that's probably not the most effective management technique. Okay, the way you do it, and to me, tone of voice is one of the most important things in leadership. If I'm talking in this tone of voice, let me tell you something. 99.9% of the time when I raise my two daughters who are in their late 20s now, or now that I'm remarried and I have children who are 10 and 13, when I talk to them in this tone of voice. I'm not screaming at them, but I'm firm. So the bottom line is we said we were going to get an A in math this semester. And the main way we're going to do that is by coming home after school and doing our homework every day. It's been 2 days in a row and you've come up with an excuse not to do your math homework after school. So either A, let's decide you're going to get a C again in math, or B, let's go back to the plan. Which one do you think is a better idea? Something like that. So I'm holding them accountable, but I'm doing it in a caring way. I'm not just, because people, listen, if people perceive that you're just yelling at them and you don't care, it's not going to work. If people, I'll tell you this, my mentor was hard on me, but I accepted every ounce of it, just like I think someone who's trying to become a Navy SEAL takes the extremely harsh way that their drill sergeant is being on them, because they know they're pushing them to be the best they possibly can. They know that they care about them. So I would have a very caring conversation with them in the beginning of the year, but let them know if they're going to authorize you to be hard on them, then you're going to hold them accountable. And then it's your job to pay close attention to them in these first 2-3 weeks to make sure they don't get off the line early. If they do, nudge them back on. One last analogy for you. You can think of a sledgehammer right now. If I talk about a sledgehammer, you can all visualize what I'm talking about. Now visualize a sledgehammer that the head of it is velvet. It's not metal, it's velvet. Hit them tap them back where they need to be with a velvet hammer instead of smashing them in the head with a steel hammer.
I love it. I love it. That's great. I'm already getting text messages authorizing me to be drill sergeant.
I love it.
That's awesome. Very cool. Took a ton of notes on that. Mr. Terry Edwards, K-Ville in the house. K Vegas.
Hey, Vegas in the house. What's up, guys? I'm up here with Mount Rushmores of the Alliance, baby. Mr. Alex Abuyuan and Katzman, baby. Mark, man, thank you so much for inviting me on the call. I met you, I don't know, 15
a while ago.
Maybe. Yeah, it's been a minute. But I never got a chance to have an intimate relationship with you until you started working with the Alliance. And I was just blown away at your body of work down through the years on what you've been able to do. And events has been a big part of what you've done at other companies and now with us. And talk about, you mentioned about winning Cabo. We got Alaskan winners, and you mentioned the association that goes on these trips. So I got two questions, I guess. Number one, why is it important for people to win the trip, the incentive trip? And number two, if they show up to the events, we have incentives to help them win the trip. So why should, outside of the points, what value do these events bring as it relates to association and winning the trips as well?
Great question again. So first of all, the first thing you have to understand is whenever someone like Andy Albright and a team of, advisors he has puts together a trip, they don't do it haphazardly. It's designed to drive behavior. So there's a lot of people who don't think they can make X amount of dollars a year. So if they're striving to make money, they're never going to get there. But if you forget about making money and you just focus on getting enough points to go on the trip, you're going to make enough money that you ain't going nowhere for a long period of time. So that, to me, if that happened to me, the first trip I made was in the cookware industry, selling cookware door to door. I just didn't think I could produce over 100,000 a year in revenue. I didn't think I could do these things. But when they said you can win an all expense paid trip to St. Thomas, I just went crazy and I went on getting the points. So if you focus on the points, you'll be in much better shape. And just know your minimum income is going to be what you need it to be if you do that, okay, without having this focus or stress on that at all. As far as so winning the trip is so important. I'll tell you this. The worst thing about anything good is having it for a little while. So, for example, like recently I love hotel. I'm a travel guy. So, you know, when I travel, I like stay. So I just stayed at a hotel in New York that I'd never stayed at before. It was $1,000 a night. It was ridiculous. But now that I've stayed there, I have to go back. It's going to piss me off to be at the $700 a night hotel because I now know there's $1,000 a night hotel. Now that's maybe elevated. Let me go all the way back. The first trip I ever made was to St. Thomas. It was a place called the Frenchman's Reef. I don't even know if it's still there. At the time, I thought I was maybe at the Four Seasons in Maui. Like, this was the most mind-blowing place in the world to me. All the food was I just couldn't believe it. And I made a deal with myself, and I know a lot of people do this, which is why I'm mentioning it, that I'm going on next year's trip. When you're on this year's trip is where you go, there's no way in hell these people are taking next year's trip without me. But you've got to get there the first time. Because once you experience it, the fear of loss, you're never. So imagine year after year after year. One of my favorite things about being on the Ireland trip was everyone going, oh, I remember the trip, listening to the conversations amongst a bunch of you guys about, oh, remember when we were here? Remember when we were there? Oh, when we did dinner at this place? Remember what so-and-so did? So imagine on going over the next 20 years on 20 insane vacations with people you develop remarkable relationships with, and you pay nothing. Like, how on earth could you be in the alliance and not take advantage of that? That would be absolutely nuts. So you've got to push your people to win the first time. You want job security as a business, as a manager, as someone who's running a team. You want job security? Get your person to get their ass on a trip, and they're not going anywhere because it's, I'll reiterate this. It's one thing to take the money out of you. I went to that hotel. It was $1,000 a night. It was amazing. If I earned a trip to go to that hotel, you got to be kidding me. There's no way in the world I'd ever not win that trip again, because getting something that extraordinary for free is just psychologically overwhelming. Now, here's the thing, tie back to the events. What Mr. Albright has done is by just going to the event. So we have NatCon coming up. If you just go to the events, we do the 4 big events. Every event, you get a bunch of points. So your ability to earn the trip becomes significantly easier. The amount of points you need to earn selling is so much lower. So for people who don't go to the events, they have to hit the full quota. For people who just show up and get in the room. Now, again, I just got done telling you, the way Mr. Albright puts this together is not haphazardly. Why would he give people so many points to just show up at the events? Because I guarantee it, virtually every day, Andy Albright sends me a bunch of graphs. He's one of the most analytical human beings I've ever met in my life. So obviously, the people who show up at the live events produce more over the year to the people who don't. So you just got to look at it and go, okay, well, do you want to earn more or less? You know what I mean? If the people who go in the events earn more money, even if you don't like live events, even if you don't like traveling, even if you don't like whatever, if you're going to earn more money doing what you're doing, why would you not do it? Because it's the statistical fact that the people who go in the events earn more money. There's no way Andy would give away so many points to people just to show up if just showing up wasn't such a big deal. So now you go to the event, and the what happens at the event on stage, I'm just telling you, that's one of my main jobs, to make sure you get fed properly. You get the nutrition. So in professional sports, there's someone on every team, the nutritionist. If you've read anything about Tom Brady, he is a fanatic about what he puts into his body. I'm your nutritionist. It's my job to make sure what goes in your brain is exactly what you need to have an incredibly healthy paycheck this year. Every event, I'm obviously consulting with Andy Albright, and we put together the information so that everyone who shows up gets exactly what they need. But I'm telling you, the information on stage is not as important as everything that happens off stage. All of the opportunities to have fun, to really get to know people, to spend time with your upline, to spend time with your sideline. We're all so busy running appointments and doing our business and doing hotspots that a lot of times we don't have time to sit down with people and have a drink with people we really want to hang out with, have a cup of coffee with someone. And that stuff matters more than you could possibly imagine. You've got to get to know these people. Stop spending all your time with people you have a common past with, and start spending time with people you have a common future with. Show up at NACCON. Everyone in that room you have a common future with. Everyone there wants this to be the best year of their life. Everyone there wants to take care of their family. Everyone there wants to leave an inheritance for their children's children. Everyone there wants to be the best version of themselves. And they say that we become the sum total of the 5 people we spend the most time with. If nothing else, show up in Dallas to find your 5 people that you're going to spend a lot of time with, because if you hang out with 5 millionaires, the odds are pretty overwhelming you're going to become number 6. It's just that simple.
That's good stuff right there, brother.
Thank you, sir. I love it. I love being a part of this.
We're going to
So
keep
great.
it back to Alex.
Yeah, it's been a great, listen, I've only been here 2 years. I know you guys have been kicking ass long before that. I mean, Adam and Alex, you've been kicking ass for 20, 25 years. It's unbelievable. And Terry probably, close to a decade. So
25, I came out my mama kicking tail.
Well, even though I've only been here a little while, it's just, if you're new to the organization, I'm just telling you, what's here is special. It obviously starts at the top with Andy Albright. I got to tell you, he's one of my favorite human beings to be with. Whether it's in person is unbelievable. It's another reason to show up in Dallas, just to be around Andy. But being on the phone, even text strings, like that's one thing. And then all the other leaders, man, like they say, iron sharpens iron. And you're just so, I know it's really uncommon. Terry and I were in a company years ago, and I talk to people all the time, and they just go, yeah, it was my first deal. I didn't know how amazing it was until I got into some bad deals. Like, just believe me when I tell you, there's a lot of other insurance organizations you could be a part of that are not 1/10 of what you're getting here. So it's just a blast to be here and be with you guys for sure, honestly. So what else? I'm sure we got something else we want to talk about.
Well, Mark, I have agents that are starting to recruit and build, and they bring their first person in. They're all excited, and and I said, well, tell me about them. It's like, well, this, and this. They have all this background, and then it seems like they hold on to them for so long. They try to change them. They try to fix all their problems. It's like, dude, you can't do that. It's that concept of, if you can't change your people, change your people. And man, you're like one of the best teachers on that whole idea of knowing when to move on, knowing when to stay. I mean, that whole thing. And I think for me, I always need my brain tweaked on, because I think even now, sometimes I fall in love with someone and it's like, oh, I know they could do it. But then, I forget that I've got other people coming on that are probably better, so help tweak my brain on that, man.
Well, I love analogies. I can't help myself. So I'll give you an example right now. So if you don't follow NFL football, that's pro football. So we just talked about college football briefly. So you have all these players in college right now, and their dream is to make it to the NFL, right? That's their all-time dream. So in a couple of months, in April, each NFL team gets to draft, handpick the players. And let me tell you, the amount of research they do. They take every game this player has played for 4 years in college, and watch every single play where that player is isolated. They know their body fat percentage. They know if they grew up in a house with mom and dad, or if it was a single parent house. They do so much. They take in so much information. So you would think with all that data and all that experience, they can definitely pick a winner. So I'm going to talk about the San Francisco 49ers this year. They have a real chance of winning the Super Bowl. So 3 years ago, they drafted a kid. They were actually traded a bunch of future draft picks to go all the way up to the front of the draft and draft a guy named Trey Lance. They were certain he was going to be their quarterback. And if you don't know football, quarterback's by far the most important position on a team. If you don't have a great quarterback, you're just not going to win it. You got to have a great quarterback. So this guy had an arm that he could throw the ball out of the stadium. Like, he was fast, he was strong, he was this, he was that. So, and the coach of the 49ers evaluates quarterbacks and trains quarterbacks probably better than anyone you could possibly imagine. So they drafted him. So you recruited someone, you're going, oh my gosh, on paper, this is going to be the best agent I've ever had. Well, Trey Lance didn't do so well when he got on the field. So 2 years ago, they drafted a guy named Brock Purdy, and he was the last person drafted out of everyone. As a matter of fact, they called the last person drafted Mr. Irrelevant because he's like pick number 265. Like virtually everyone else has gotten drafted. So Brock Purdy they chose him to be a backup, maybe. No guarantees. They don't pay those guys a lot of money. That guy, Trey Lance, got paid a ton of money because they were betting on him. Well, here's the bottom line. I said on paper, Trey Lance is a 12 out of 10 and Brock Purdy's a 3 out of 10, but you don't play football on paper. Oh. So you guys, when you're building your team, when someone looks amazing in the beginning, they have a lot of potential. So if you don't have a dictionary handy, I'll give you the definition of potential. It's a fancy French word, which means someone hasn't done anything yet. Potential is irrelevant. There's potential energy and kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is energy that's in motion. So some of you are trying to get your Trey Lance to be Trey Lance. You're trying to motivate them to be who you think they were supposed to be. But when people show you who they are, you need to believe them. So Brock Purdy, to finish the story, is really got a chance to be the most valuable player in the NFL. Not only has he become the starter of the team, he is the reason or one of the two best players on a team that may lead them to a world championship. So with people, we get them on our team. We don't know what they're going to do. You know what you do? You do what the coach of the 49ers does. You watch what they do. You don't listen to what they say. You watch what they do. You don't look at their pedigree. You watch what they do. And even though one player may not seem like he's the guy that you thought was going to be your next whoever, your next Andy Riddle, you didn't think this guy was going to be a great player. But if he's doing the work, man, that goes back to the expression. Don't work where you deserve. Work where you deserve, not where you're needed. Everyone needs your help. Trey Lance, God bless him, needed a lot of the coach's help, but Brock Purdy earned the coach's help. He was doing enough on his own. So let me ask you this. Imagine I'm going to say Elton John because everyone knows him, but John Williams is actually the guy who does the compositions and has written almost every amazing musical score you can imagine, Star Wars, all this stuff, right? So imagine John Williams is going to teach someone how to be a great piano player and composer. Would he pick a kid who doesn't even really put any energy? He has talent, but he only plays piano once every 4 or 5 days. Or would John Williams insist on having someone that lives to play piano? Maybe they don't have as much natural talent as the other person, but they're obsessed with playing piano. So let me be clear. When I say work where you deserve, not where you're needed, I'm not talking about talent. And I'm not even talking about results. I'm talking about effort. Someone who's on every weekly call. Someone who would never think of missing 1 to 4 events. For some of you, we're trying to sell you on, you got to get to Dallas. For the people who are doing well, being in Dallas is as automatic as getting out of bed in the morning. The odds of them not going to Dallas are close your eyes. That's the odds of them not going to Dallas. They don't miss a day. So again, a lot of this comes down to daily disciplines. You know, I mean, again, writing down a goal to do something 10x what you did last year. I know some of you guys are into the law of attraction, and here's the thing. Let's manifest 10 times more income. Hold on, let's just take a moment and manifest. Yeah, manifesting is I'm sorry. There's a way to manifest. You know what gets more results of manifesting? Doing the work, having the discipline, doing the work. So again, like if you got someone above you saying, man, you need to get the training, man, you need to get on a weekly call. Here's the thing. They make $0 as a kickback to get you to the event. They get $0. So why would they be pushing you? Some of you are going, why do I need to do this? And here's the thing. We don't know what we don't know. So a lot of you don't know what you need to know. So you have an experienced person who's been there, done that, who's willing to show you. Imagine you come up to a landmine field, and that's a terrible thing. People who have been affected by a landmine, oh my gosh, some of the most horrible physical things. You can die, obviously, you can lose a limb. So imagine really being at the edge of a minefield. How scared would you be if you had to move forward? You had someone chasing you from behind. You have no choice but to move forward. If someone comes up and goes, hey, I've been through the minefield. I know exactly where to go. Follow me. Would you go, nah, I don't know. I think I'll just do it the way I think I should do it. Are you shitting me? You can't be that ridiculous. Okay, so follow these guys. There are going to be a lot of bad days. There are going to be a lot of hard things, but every one of these guys and many, many, many more people like them in the Alliance are living a life beyond what they used to dream about. And part of it is getting to the next event. Part of it is being on these calls. You may like one call more than another. It doesn't matter what you think you need. What matters is what Andy Albright and the leadership team knows that you need. Andy, I look at my success. I'm a pretty successful guy. When I look at Andy's financial success, I'm like a zit on the butt of a dog compared to Andy. Like Andy is like a massive greyhound and I'm a little zit on his butt. Like his success is so overwhelming, for you to not plug into the system is crazy, guys. So I'm talking mostly to those of you who are new that you don't know. You got to trust someone. Why not trust a team with an incredible pedigree? It's really obvious. And I'm telling you, you're getting in exactly the right time. But you've got to get to this event coming up in January. And let me talk to the people who are managing your teams. Let me tell you, you're never going to get to the top of the mountain being passive. Okay, I guarantee you, I talked about Navy SEALs before. When they are telling their people what to do, or a drill sergeant, forget about Navy SEALs, any drill sergeant is not passive about telling people what they need to do. You need to do what I tell you to do. And if not, it's going to be a problem. So I don't want you barking orders at your team, but stop being so afraid. Here's a lot of you doing. You're going, well, if I push my person to go, if I push them too hard, they might quit. Well, don't you think about a military leader who's like, well, we really need to take that beachhead, but I know if I tell those guys to go over there that they might look at it and go, I don't think so. I might die. So, you know, I'm just not going to ask them because I don't want them to quit. Listen, there's a job to do, man. It's so funny that everyone wants to get wealthy, but no one's willing to, few people are willing to do what it takes to get wealthy. I always say everyone wants to be a beast. Yeah, in sports, I want to be a beast. Well, then you got to do what a beast does. And a beast is not afraid to tell their key people what they need to do. One of my favorite stories is Kobe Bryant, the basketball player. My daughter went to high school with a guy named Julius Randle, who now plays with the Knicks, been in the league almost 10 years, but he started with Kobe. He was with the Lakers the first couple of years. And when Julius was a rookie, they were coming to Dallas, where Julius is from, and Julius couldn't wait to get off the chartered plane and go hang out with his family and friends and party it up and all that stuff. Kobe said, "Hey, you rookie, you're with me." And he brought him to do something that was sacred to Kobe that no one else really even knew he was doing. First of all, how good was Kobe Bryant? If you don't know, without a doubt, one of the 5 greatest players to ever play in the NBA. And this is when he's already a Hall of Famer, without a doubt. And he's still going to a gym. So he grabbed Julius and he went to a gym, and it was a high school gym. Sometimes he would go to a church gym because a lot of the gyms weren't open. Kobe said, whenever I land in a city we're going to play at, while everyone else is doing what they're doing, I go do a workout for 90 minutes in that city, in that time zone, and I'm mentally and emotionally ahead of everybody else. So while Julius wanted to go party, he got him to go do with it. Well, guess what? After that, every time Kobe worked out, Julius worked out. Now on the Knicks, guess what Julius does every time he gets to a new city? So are you willing to take what the greatest players know is the way to go and do it? But here's the problem. It's more work. I'm so sorry. Everyone wants to put in minimal efforts and get back maximum results, but I think that we all understand. So don't be one of the people. You understand this. 95% of people who make a New Year's resolution don't hit it, because making a goal doesn't matter. Following up with the action necessary, getting the guidance from people who already have what you want is what it's all about. So this can be the greatest year of your life. This can be the year that you earn 5 times more than you've ever earned before in your life. But you can't take it like it's a hobby. You got to get serious about this thing. And this call is a fraction of the energy we're going to be giving you in Dallas. You need to get there. Your people need to get you. This is going to be a massive year for the Alliance. I'm just telling you, our leader, Andy Albright, is on a roll. He is going places with or without anybody. I know what he's got in his mind. It's going to be a year. If you want to keep pace, you can't afford not to be in Dallas, and your team can't afford not to be in Dallas. So I'm sorry, guys. I get a little rant there, but I can't help myself.
Wow. Mark, incredible. I'm ready to go to Dallas now.
Yeah.
When's the next flight? So along that line, in terms of building those relationships with people, this is something I'm sure Alex gets it. I'm sure Terry gets it also. And Mark, I know you get it a ton. I know how busy you are. How do you get people to build the relationship? Relationship is a two-way street. And, it seems like we are always having to reach out to the people. How do we get them to start reaching back to us so that we can truly form that partnership?
Yeah, that's a really good point. So in the beginning, as a leader, we always take the first step, right? We always reach out first, but you need to let people know. It's like, look, I'm too busy to constantly reach out to you. So what I'm expecting is for you to reach out to me at least twice a week. Give me a report on how things are going. If you need help, I'm here, but I'm not going to chase you around. Goes back to what I said earlier. I don't have time to be a babysitter, but I do have time to be a manager. So it's on you to reach out to me. And if I call you, I'm not calling you unless I have a very specific reason to call you. So if I call you, unless you're in a house closing a deal, you pick up the phone. Okay. Other than that, you pick up the phone, and communication is really, really, really important. Now, the other thing I'd say to that is if you get them in that mindset and they call you, do everything you can possibly do to not let it go to voicemail. Or if you do, send back an immediate text that says, hey, I'm in the middle of a meeting. I really want to talk to you. I know it must be important. I'll call you, and call them back as soon as you get out. But if you encourage that behavior and then you don't follow up with it, then obviously they're going to stop the behavior. Here's the thing you got to understand. There's a lot of people like me back in the day when I was new. I had so much respect for my mentor, and I was so intimidated by him that I didn't call him a lot. Like, I was not good at calling him. I didn't want to bother him. So it's important you let people know you're not bothering me. I'm talking to somebody anyway. I'd rather talk to someone like you who is out there making it happen. So if someone isn't calling you, I would try 2 to 3 times to encourage them. And if they don't, then you got to understand they're not going to do it. People don't change people rarely change. It happens, but most people don't change. So if you have someone, again, who you're banging on and they're just not staying in touch with you, I'd rather find Brock Purdy, who's willing to be in touch with me on a regular basis. Here's the thing you'll find when you're building a team. When you find the right new person, they're going to call you 3 times a day, 5 times a day, every day. As a matter of fact, Michael Jordan, who to me is the greatest of all time, talks about how Kobe Bryant, when he was young, used to call him all the time, 3 o'clock in the morning. Imagine your downline calling you 3 o'clock in the morning, go, yeah, listen, I'm going over the comp plan right now. I'm talking about trying to get to the next rank. I mean, wouldn't you look and go, what the hell are you calling me at 3 o'clock? But in a good way, don't you want someone who's that crazy? So it's like obsessed, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So it's like encourage it, but if it's not happening, that person's still on your team. Just go look for another one. Always keep looking for others. You know what I mean? You're looking for someone who checks all your boxes, man. I want someone who's a self-starter. I want someone who's positive. I want someone who's tough. I want someone who's got influence with other people. And not everyone has all those categories. So that's why I keep bringing new people in, because it's hard to check off all the boxes on my list. You know, in baseball, they say there's what's called a 5-point player. Someone who can hit for power, hit for a high average, someone who can field, someone who can run, and someone who can throw. Like in the history of Major League Baseball, there's probably been 100 guys who can do all of that. I'm always looking for that next guy. Even though most players can only do 2 of them or 3 of them, I'm always looking for someone who can do 5. So if I have 3 players who can do 3 of them, I'm not happy with that. I want at least 1 guy who can do all 5. And if I have 1, I'm not happy with 1. I want at least 2 of them. And if I have 2, I want at least 3. You should, whatever psychologically you need to do to yourself to convince yourself your group is not where it needs to be. No matter how much money you're making, no matter how much volume you're doing, you should always be looking for that next raw talent, like eyes wide open, like Andy Albright was 25 years ago. Someone who this is how they're going to make their mark in the world. And I'm telling you, those people are out there. They are definitely out there, and there's more of them out there probably than there ever has been. I mean, there's a lot of change in the marketplace right now. People are freaked out about losing their jobs to robotics. Forget about that. Now they're afraid about losing their job to AI. There's all kinds of things changing in all kinds of industries. I think we don't have to be geniuses to see the handwriting is on the wall. We're probably going into a bit of a recession. That means great people are going to be looking for opportunities. So there's more Andys out there, man. But here's the thing, if you don't go fishing, if you don't have a line in the water, what's your chance of catching a marlin? And the answer is none. You can't tell me, well, it's okay because my people are fishing for me. Bullshit. You need to go fishing yourself, okay? Because most of your people could never bring in a marlin, but you can. Imagine this year you personally go out and get someone who does more volume than the rest of your current team combined. But that's not going to happen if you're relying on your current team to go get them. Just not going to happen, I'm telling you. That would be nice. But this isn't a fairy tale. This is the real world. So you want it to happen, you need to step up and make it happen.
That's good stuff. So we've all been in other organizations outside of financial services, right? Where you buy the dream, you get gung-ho about it, and the money, you might make some money, but most people are spending more money than they make. We get into financial services. Now, we can't guarantee nobody income because if you don't do the work, you ain't gonna make no money. But for people to make good money here, it is very common for people to make what we would consider great money, or most people, like 100 grand. Like really, like 100 grand is like, it's cute, right? How do you keep, even as people coming in, getting started, making more money than they've ever made before, us veterans who've been around a couple of years, we're making more money than we've ever made before. How do we not fall victim to just trying to go on cruise control? How do you recommend people keep that hunger, that desire, that willingness to get up every day and still fight for that next level?
I definitely got you here. So this is going to go back. I get to refer to my pride and joy, Alabama. So Nick Saban has something that he's had his whole coaching career called the process. And by the way, if you don't like Alabama, the 49ers I mentioned earlier, when they won 4 Super Bowls under a coach named Bill Walsh, he's the one who had what he called a standard of excellence. He took over a team that had the worst record in the league. The next year, they had the worst record in the league. And the year after that, they made the playoffs. The year after that, they won the Super Bowl. And they won a bunch of them with the standard of excellence, the same thing Nick Saban calls the process. So here's the thing that both of them did. Your job is to do 2 things. Number one, do your job as effectively as you possibly can on this play. I don't care about the last play. I don't care about the next play. On this play, you play to your ultimate highest possible ability, okay? And because it's a team sport, you trust your teammates to do the same thing. And then if we win or lose, it really doesn't matter, because if everyone trusts each other, and if we play for each other, and if we all execute what we're supposed to do on this play to our highest ability, then we're going to win more than we're going to lose. So think about it, like, what is the next thing you know you're supposed to do? And that's what's so funny about it. Here's the problem, Terry. A lot of people are motivated by money. So again, here's what's unbelievable to me. I've observed this in the Alliance. People get in. There's people in the Alliance that are making $100,000, $150,000 a year, and they work 2 to 3 days a week. You know, they do their appointments one day, run their sales appointments the next day, and maybe that's it. And they make $100,000. So instead of going, damn, what if I did this 6 days a week and making 300-400? What if I built a team on top of it? People are people. Humans are humans. So we have what's called a comfort zone. So what we need to understand is, if you want to be the best you could possibly be, then you've got to go by the process. You've got to just play it one day at a time, one phone call at a time, one activity at a time, and make sure that you're the best version of yourself on that play. And you do it over and over. It doesn't matter what your check is. I know I don't need the money. I know I've already won the trip. So that's obviously a message. It sounds like it's for veterans who are making a lot to not get in the comfort zone, but it's also for brand new people. If brand new people just do what you're supposed to do right now, then you win, man. That's what it boils down to.
Wow. Well, Mark, I'm going to tread on a topic here that we find agents in, and they jump in, they're fired up. They don't really come along with their spouse because, I'm the one that makes money or whatever. And they come in with maybe a spouse who's not so supportive, or, a significant other who's not so supportive, whatever. So, we get these sometimes like marriage counseling situations or significant other partner things, and we're not the marriage counselors. So how do you deal with a not so positive partner?
Great question as well. This has been a great call. So for me, first of all, you're building any organization. That's very, very important. So let me go back to our founder, Andy Albright, who grew up and really learned how to build teams in a company called Amway. Now, you can make fun of Amway, but they've been doing $8 to $10 billion a year in sales for the last 30 years or so. So if they're not a good company, I don't know about that. So in Amway, the culture is you don't recruit individuals, you recruit couples. You don't even want to recruit a single person. You want someone, because couples are more powerful together, and it's critical. So let me tell you something that drives Mr. Albright crazy. I think he's okay with me saying this. When someone shows up at an event without their spouse, drives them insane. But Andy, you don't understand. My spouse isn't doing the business. He doesn't care. You are trying to build a dream life for your family. So we want your spouse around. Now, here's the thing. This is my favorite. Whenever I had someone I knew they had a negative spouse, I used to say, it's time to put my head inside the mouth of the lion. Like, let's just go do it. Because here's the truth. Imagine you're trying to climb the top, forget Mount Everest. That's hard enough to do if you're a world-class athlete. Let's say you're trying to climb Camelback Mountain in Phoenix. That should be doable. But if every time you take a step, your spouse tries to tackle you and hold you back, what are the odds of you getting to the top of any mountain? It's just not going to happen. So if the spouse is negative, a lot of times what I've seen is the spouse is negative. There's a bunch of reasons. Number one, they're jealous. So bring them to the event. Stop taking photos with 5 hot girls at the events, you silly goofball, and bring them to the event. And when you're at the event, talk to the other people about how much you love your beautiful spouse. And this goes both for guys and girls. So sometimes they're jealous. Sometimes they are feeling as if you're growing and out, you know how people outgrow their spouses? That's what happens if you don't bring your person to events. Because you guys know at events, we don't just talk about the business. We talk a lot about personal development. We talk a lot about leadership, and all of that is applicable. You know, one of the best places you can apply what we teach you is being a parent. So a lot of this information, a lot of spouses come and they end up doing better on their job because of the information they got at one of our events. So we just want the spouse to know we want you here. We want you to be involved. And it's always about a heart-to-heart, okay? If you could do a 3-way Zoom with them and get down to it, say, listen, Mary, obviously you're not wildly in favor of what's going on. I would I really care about Alex, and I know Alex he shared what his dreams are. And most of his dreams, by the way, revolve around wanting to get a better life for you and the kids. So I know you don't know me, but can we just be really transparent here? Because maybe what you're not liking about us is something that's unfixable. I give you my word that if that's the case, then I'll tell Alex this probably is a bad idea. But maybe, maybe you have a misconception about something. So maybe, putting my head in the mouth of the lion, tell me what's really going on, and I'll tell you. And she may go, well, I don't want to have him. The last time he did something like this, he was gone 7 days a week. He became a workaholic. He was, so then it's like, okay, fair enough. I agree with you. So Alex, the thing you and I are going to have to talk about is healthy boundaries. So for example, Mary, let me tell you one of the things I learned when my kids were young. I took my phone and either put it outside of the room or put it on silent when we were at the dinner table. When we had time with our family, that was that. And I put appointments in my phone, dates with my wife, as well as time with me and my kids. And they were no less important than if I was doing a presentation for a client who wanted to buy $5 million worth of life insurance. So I guarantee you I have the skills that I can help Alex with. So if we can make a commitment, Alex, that we're not going to let that happen, does that make you feel better about? Does that make sense? And that's one role play. But, the truth is we're in the people business. And I'd rather find out early on if she's really going to, or he's really going to forbid them, if you will, from doing it. Then it's better for me to go to work with a different person. But if you get in there, I'm telling you, a lot of times you can turn them around. And I'd always try to get them to come to the event. Not for the event, so you can meet the other spouses. A lot of spouses come to the event. It's very much a family atmosphere. I think you'll understand what Alex is doing to a much greater degree if you get to the event.
Wow.
Awesome. Very cool. Mark, you got time for 2 more questions? One from me, one from Terry? Okay. So I've heard you talk about sorting people a lot in terms of where they meet people where they are, and just when they tell you who they are, believe them. How often do you you reevaluate that, or do you ever reevaluate it? Because this time of year, everybody's going to do it. So is this a time to reevaluate people and kind of resort, or do you just stay with what you've already seen up to this point?
Another great question. Adam, I am always sorting. I never stop sorting. So I always tell people there's at least 3 sorts. There's the first sort, and the reason why we teach the concept of some will, some won't, so what, right? We do that so when you're showing the insurance business, if they say no, you don't get your feelings hurt. So we teach people some will, some won't, so what? It's a sorting business, not a selling business. And that's true. But then, like, a lot of people are like, okay, I got a guy. Okay, yeah, but he hasn't gotten his license yet. Or yes, he's gotten his license, but he hasn't done a presentation yet. So the 3 main sorts are, number 1, do they say yes? Number 2, do they do something? Because some people do nothing. So how much time do you think I'm going to spend with someone who says no to doing the business? Again, the answer is none. How much time am I going to spend with someone who's done nothing? Again, the answer is none. Then the third sort is, so meaning that if they go through the second sort, that means they're doing something, because they're not doing nothing. So that means they're doing something. So then the third sort is, are they doing things that other people aren't doing? Are they getting on to weekly calls? Are they showing up at the events? Are they doing appointments on their own? Are they taking steps forward? So those are my 3 basic sorts. And of the 3 types of people there, I spend all my time with people who jump through all 3 hoops. Now, everything that's meaningful is a sort. So did they make the trip to Alaska? That's a sort. Are they going to NatCon? That's a sort. Do they have at least 10 people on their team coming to NatCon? That's a sort. Should you be spending as much time with someone who's going to NatCon by themselves, who's been around for a while, by themselves? Are you going to spend as much time with them as someone who's going to NatCon with 20 people? Because you should definitely be spending more time with the person who's going to NatCon with 20 people. So I'm always are they on the weekly calls all the time? Now, sometimes they're going to be on a sales call, so we can't be insane about it, but are they on most of the weekly calls? You know what I mean? So I'm looking for people to constantly go through whatever these hoops are, and I'm always paying attention, because listen, sometimes there's 2 things: you're either on track or off track. You're either teachable or you're unteachable. So let me give you a parallel analogy. So I never, for many years of my life, ever went to a chiropractor. Didn't even know you were supposed to. Then I went to a chiropractor. It was like, I'll never forget my first adjustment. It was like, I feel so much better. It was like a miracle. But then guess what? About 2 months later, I need to go back for another adjustment. And now I go back once every 3 weeks. So no matter how good a chiropractic adjustment is, it's not permanent. So someone who's perfectly adjusted will eventually be not perfectly adjusted. Someone who's teachable today may not be teachable. You know what's crazy? Someone comes in, they're wide-eyed, they're teachable. Yes, tell me what to do, coach. Tell me what to do, drill sergeant. As soon as they make some money, they become unteachable, which is hilarious, but it's going to happen. So here's the thing. Again, when it comes to sorting, Adam, if you're not teachable, I'm just not going to spend any time with you. Nothing frustrates me more as a teacher than someone who listens to what I say and doesn't take action on it. So I'm always sorting. Always, and either making a physical list or a mental list of who is doing what I need them to do. Here's the thing. Once you've been around for a while, you're going to know what your people need to be doing. And if they're not doing it, you don't yell at them. You don't scream at them. You don't belittle them. You go find someone else. Go find someone else. I'll tell you, the ultimate way to motivate your current team is to go replace them. Don't tell them that, by the way. Some of you guys are amazing. I'm going to replace you. No. You just go get new people. Go get new people. Nothing motivates old people like a new person with a big, wide-eyed enthusiasm. And you start telling that story. Remember, celebrate what you want to duplicate. So if I got a new person and I'm telling their story at all the Zooms I'm doing and at whatever, everyone will want to do the same thing. They'll want to be the new person you're telling the story about.
So it's January 3rd. Believe it or not, some of us have already given up on the goal, and it's just the 3rd.
Yeah.
What would you tell me if you're coaching me and I've given you permission to be my drill sergeant, and it's January the 3rd and Terry Edwards is already offline? Snap me back.
Okay, I would keep it real, but nicely. I would say, Terry, here's the thing. We're at January 3rd and you're already off track. So I'm going to be real with you. That's not like, it's not the greatest sign. So I believe in you. We're going to get you back on track today, but let's not be off track again 2 days from now. Because again, I told you in the beginning, I am not here to be a babysitter. If you're going to need me to get you back on track every second or third or fourth day, that screams of someone who just wants my attention. I want you to get my attention by making 5 sales this week. And now I want to put you on a weekly call with everybody else. Does that make sense? So I'm here for you 100%, but I cannot do the work for you. You got to do the work. You know what I mean? I'm accountable to Andy Riddle. I'm accountable to Andy Albrecht. I got to do my work. So do I like it when they motivate me and inspire me? Yes. But I know that if I'm not doing it, we get praised in public for what we do in private. So you need to do what you need to do. Go back to the process thing. You know what you're supposed to do. So let's not worry about all year. Do your job for the next 24 hours and then do it again for 24 hours. And when you've done the right thing for 3 days in a row, call me back.
I love it. I love it. So Alex, you gonna wrap it up?
Yeah. Well, Mark, wow. We're very blessed to have you on here. And like you totally fulfilled all my expectations and beyond. Man, thanks for tweaking. And thanks for all the private time too that you make available to us that are building teams. And man, I just totally appreciate that, dude. Man, last comment. I'm going to turn it over to you, man. We can wrap this up with you.
Well, again, I go back to right now, it's a natural reboot button for everybody. And before you know it, that's over. And then we're into the grind. And the people who are champions at the end of the year and the people that are going to cruise next year, those are people, you know what I'm saying? Like I was in my gym yesterday. This is classic. I go to a gym almost every day. And yesterday I couldn't find the locker to put my stuff. And then I just stopped and laughed and going, because there's always a locker. There's always a lot of lockers. But now all the people who made New Year's resolution, they're all in the gym at the same time. And I know from 25, 30 years of experience that by the 15th of January, I'll be able to get my locker just like I always get my locker. So you can't be off track for 20 years and then be on track for 20 days and expect some kind of miracle. You don't get out of shape for 20 years, work out for 20 days, and look like the dude on the cover of Muscle and Fitness. It doesn't work that way. So the biggest thing I would say to end it is let's make a 90-day run. Let's start from now and go to the end of March and go hard, man. Like really go hard. Because here's what I believe, and this is what I always tell everybody. You've got to make the numbers your friend. You've got to earn the success, man. So if you're doing less calls than normal, how are you going to make more money? You've got to do more than what you've been doing. Find someone above you and have them give you a target of something that you think is going to be hard for you to achieve. And for the next 90 days, do it. Just make it happen. I'll tell you one other thing. Get off this Zoom and get at least one person on your team to sign up for NatCon. Some of you guys have unassigned seats. You bought some extra tickets. Get them all assigned within the next 24 to 48 hours. again, guys, this is your business. This is an amazing opportunity, but isn't it funny how some people take an opportunity and turn it into a masterpiece? Think about it's 2024. You got a blank canvas and you can do anything you want to. I was just in Louvre last month and I get a private tour guide. Man, what a different experience with a private tour guide who explains the great paintings and how they were done and the situation they were done in and the technique to paint. You can create the Mona Lisa. You can create a masterpiece, or you could scribble like a child and you can occasionally go to it. You know, the worst thing is turning around on December 31st and you still got a blank canvas. So the bottom line is you need to take control of your year. We're all here to support you. We've been through the minefield. We know how to get to the other side, but you got to put in the action. So that's me. Thoughts determine what we want. Action is the only thing that determines what we get. So I think that's a good note to end on.
Thanks, Mark, man. We appreciate you. Alliance Nation, you heard it from the best of the best. Rock on.
Thank you, Mark.
See you in Dallas.